in society, when you say you're autistic, there's still not a broad understanding of what that means, and we all know the classic statement is, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. But when you stand up and say, I am autistic and here I am, it's really a big step, because there is lots of stigma. There is lots of ignorance. And, in some ways, like with my son who's on the spectrum, he's completely, he doesn't get it. He doesn't know, he doesn't sense it. He doesn't read it in the room. He doesn't care, but it's still there, and it still caps his ability in life to grow. And, there is that out there. Where do you think we were? Where do you think we are now? And where do you think we're going in terms of this, like the stigma, the fear of disclosing, the lack of understanding we have in society? Like, what have you seen? Because you've been at this for a long time, and you have a different perspective now.
Absolutely. So I think your last statement about your son was a bit of a dating statement. You're dating yourself and you're dating me, because at the time when you and I were growing up, that stigma would truly be very limiting, right? If I had come out as a 20-year-old a generation ago and declared at the very start of my career that I'm autistic, it would have been like sticking myself in a box, and it would have just closed a whole bunch of doors for me. So that definitely that's where we were as a society a generation ago. Where we are today, I think, is a fascinating inflection point for society, because today we've reached a point where not only are we very positively and productively fixated on diversity, all of a sudden diversity is the topic du jour. And people are understanding that diversity comes in 300 different forms, not just skin color or gender. And so all of a sudden this autism conversation is coming of age in the most productive way. But also, there are now so many open examples out there of people being on the spectrum and being unique contributors to society, and in some cases, unique leaders of society, that I think that's kind of creating massive momentum. And again, there is also brilliant examples like AutiTalks. People like you with brilliant ideas are now inventing new ways to harness this incredible talent that we've got all around us in society on the spectrum. So, all of these things are happening at the same time. So we're I feel like we're sitting at this magical inflection point in the history of humankind, where we're going from what you described before as the limiting era, the era where people like your son or I would have been completely opportunity limited, to the future, which will be an absolute normalization of difference.